Hello, this is Sudhir Kumar Dwivedi, Assistant Professor of Law, Gemtech School of Law, Greater Noida. The topic for today's lecture is Oral and Documentary Evidence under the subject Law of Evidence. Before knowing what is the oral evidence and documentary evidence, it is important to know what is evidence. And though we have already discussed in previous lecture, but in short, let's see what is the evidence. As per definition provided in Indian Evidence Act, the evidence means and includes all statements which the court permits or requires to be made before it by witnesses in relation to matter of fact under inquiry. Such statements are called oral evidence. All documents, including electronic record produced for the inspection of the court, such documents are called documentary evidence. So, if we analyze the definition of the word evidence which has been given in the act, we find that it talks about the two types of the evidence, oral evidence and documentary evidence. Documentary or oral evidence has not been defined as such separately in the act. By analyzing the definition of the oral evidence provided in the act, we can find out what is the oral evidence and what is the documentary evidence. And as per this definition, oral evidence is the statement of the witnesses in relation to matter under inquiry which is made before the court. And documentary evidence is the evidence including the electronic records which has been inserted by the IT Amendment Act, Information Technology Amendment Act 2000, electronic records and other documents which are presented before the court for the purpose of the inspection is known as a documentary evidence. So, it can be said the oral evidence means statement of witnesses before the court in relation to matter of facts under the inquiry. It is important to note that whatever has been stated by the witnesses must be related to the fact which is under the inquiry. Means, if anything is stated by the witness which is not related to the matters which is pending before the court for the purpose of the inquiry, then such statement is not considered as a oral evidence. It must be related with the matter which is under inquiry before the court. One thing more important to note here is that though the definition includes or definition provides that only the statement of the witnesses is considered oral evidence as definition provided in the Indian Evidence Act, but we have already discussed that the definition of the evidence is not proper, it is defective one, and the statement of the accused, statement of the investigating officer, statement of the commissioner who do the inquiry is also considered as a evidence in the court, and that's why the statement given by this person may also be considered as a oral evidence. In the same way, documentary evidence is considered which has been produced before the court for the purpose of the inspection. So, if any document which is related with the matter which is pending before the court or which is under the inquiry, then any document which is supporting or rebutting any fact in issue, then that document is considered as a documentary evidence. Here it is important to note in regard to the documentary evidence which has been held in Ram Swaroop versus State. Citation is AIR 1958, Allahabad 119. It was held in this case that a document is evidence only when it is produced for the inspection of the court. So, if a writing has been obtained by a court for the accused for comparison is not a evidence, as it is not a document produced for the inspection of the court. Suppose a document which has been produced before the court which is containing the signature of the accused, and for the purpose of making a comparison the court obtained the evidence, the signature of the accused on another paper, then that paper on which such signature has been obtained by the court will not fall in the category of the documentary evidence, because the requirement of the section is that such document must be produced for the purpose of the inspection before the court. And since such document has not been produced, such document has been taken by the court for just only for the purpose of comparison whether the signature which is falling in the document which has been produced by the parties is of the same person or not, and that's why the court has obtained the signature, then such signature will not fall in the category of the documentary evidence. In regard to oral evidence, section 59 of the Indian Evidence Act provides that all facts except the contents of the document or electronic record may be proved by the oral evidence. What is the purpose of declaring that? Where it is document, if any evidence is in the form of document, then document must be produced before the court. Oral evidence in regard to the document is not acceptable before the court. So if anything is contained in a document, then that documentary evidence should be produced before the court. Otherwise all the fact may be proved by the oral evidence. And though this is not a true principle in her, we can say there are certain exceptions where oral evidence regarding the contents of the document may be given under certain circumstances. For example, in section 65 of the Indian Evidence Act, it has been provided in clause G, when the original consists of numerous accounts or other document which cannot conveniently be examined in the court, and the fact to be proved is the general result of the whole collection, then the evidence may be given as to general result of the document by a person who examined them, and such person may give his written report what he has examined, or may present before the court and give the oral statement regarding what he has observed those accounts. So the both type of evidence in such situation is accepted by the court. That's why the general principle which has been laid down under section 59, that all the facts except the contents of the document may be proved by the oral evidence, is not true in 100%. There are certain circumstances where the contents of the document may be proved by oral evidence, and such an exception is section 65 subclause Z. The next question which arises is that what will be the method of the statement? Is it only that a person should speak before the court, or there are other methods which is allowed by the court? It has been observed in Queen Empress versus Abdullah 1885 that it is not necessary that always it is spoken by the witness. There may be certain circumstances where there may be any other method of the communication. In this case, what happened, the throat of that witness, you can say, was cut by a sharpened weapon, and she was not able to speak. So when the police officer present for the purpose of the investigation, he communicated the thing by some gesture or by indicating, and that was recorded by the police officer. Suppose the question was asked by the police officer whether Mr. A has committed that, or whether Mr. crime, or whether Mr. A had assaulted you, and C move his head in the gesture like she is saying S, and that is regarded by the police officer as S, then that evidence was considered as oral evidence by the court, and it was accepted by the court, and it was held by the court. It is not necessary that oral evidence always be communicated by the mouth. It may be by way of gesture, or it may be by any other form. Suppose any thief wants to give an statement before the court and the person is not able to speak, in that case, whatever he has seen, he stated in the written format. Whatever he has seen regarding the incident, he jot down the things in a paper and presented before the investigating officer. Then that paper will not be considered as a document. It will be considered as a oral statement of the witness, since he was not able to speak. That's why he communicated with another method, and that method is a written statement. So it is well settled principle now that the method of the communication may be different. What is required is that it is by the person who has seen the evidence, the incident, and he has stated the thing before the investigating officer or before the court. Then in that case, that will be considered as a oral evidence. Same was held in Chandrasekhara versus R in 1937 Privy Council case. Section 60 is the further extension of the concept of the oral evidence, and it provides that oral evidence must be direct. Means to say, if it is a statement of a witness who said before the court that he has seen the incident, then it must be by the person who has seen the incident. Suppose if it refers to a fact which could be heard, then it must be by the person who said he heard the thing. Suppose if it refers to an opinion or the ground on which that opinion is held, it must be the evidence of the person who holds that opinion in those grounds. What is the purpose of the section 60? That the person who's giving the oral evidence must be the person who has perceived the thing by his five senses. Means if it is related with the hearing, then it must be person who have heard the thing. If it is related with the seeing the incident, it must be the person who has seen the incident. If it is related the opinion which is based on some ground, then it must be the person who has given such opinion on those ground. Means to say, it must be direct in all senses, in all cases. Section 60 is based on the general principle of the English rule, which has been accepted in everywhere in the world in the concept of the evidence, that hearsay is no evidence. It embodies the second important rule, that oral evidence, that it must in all cases be direct and not hearsay. The section sets out the scope of the extension of the direct evidence. The section 60 is based on the principle of English rule, which is this, that hearsay evidence must be excluded. Means hearsay evidence is not generally acceptable before the court, though there are some exceptions we will discuss later on. But the basic thing which we need to keep in mind is that section 60 is the extension of the basic principle that hearsay evidence is not acceptable. What is hearsay evidence? It is important to understand here. Hearsay evidence means, suppose a person has heard something. Suppose I am a person who seen the incident, and whatever has been seen by me, I explained all the thing to Mr. B, and now Mr. B is presenting himself as a witness before the court, and he want to explain before the court that Mr. A, that means me, have explained the thing, the incident to him. So the court will say, no, you are not a person who has seen the incidents, and your evidence is not allowed, because your evidence is a hearsay evidence. And section 60 very clearly declares that Evidence must be the direct evidence, means evidence must be by the person who has seen, who has the opinion. It must be by the person who has perceived the thing by their senses. It is not by the person who has seen, who has not seen, and who has not heard by his own eyes or by his own senses. So it can be said that hearsay evidence is that evidence which comes indirectly, that is to say, which comes not from the knowledge of the person who deposes it, but through some other person. In short, we can also discuss here the some fact regarding what are the exception of the hearsay evidence, though I will not go in detail because I will discuss these things in another lecture. In short, here we can count the exception of the hearsay evidence like admission, confession, res gestae. These are the exception to the rule of hearsay. Let's see what is the documentary evidence. The meaning we can first see what is provided in section 3, that documentary evidence means all documents including the records produced for the inspection of the court. Such documents are called documentary evidence. As we have already discussed that by the IT Amendment Act 2000, the word electronic evidence has also been inserted in the documentary evidence. So if anything is contained in any electronic form, then that is also considered as a documentary evidence. Here first it is important to understand what is document. So if we see the definition clause of Indian Evidence Act, section 3 of the act provides that documents means any matter expressed or described upon any substance by means of letter, figure, marks, or by more than one of those means intended to be used or which may be used for the purpose of the recording the matter. So if anything has been expressed or described in any substance by mode of expression, it may be letter, figure, or some another art, so that will be considered as a document. And if such documents are presented before the court for the purpose of the inspection in related to any matter, then that document will be converted into a documentary evidence, and that document will be known as a documentary evidence. So the documentary evidence is based on the concept that if something has been encrypted on a in the substance, and that is for the purpose of recording the matter, and that is produced before the court, it's considered as a documentary evidence. The subject of the documentary evidence can be for the purpose of intelligible reading, divided into three parts. How the contents of document are proved, it is given from section 61 to 66. How the document is to be proved to be genuine, it is given from section 67 to 90. And how far and in what cases the oral evidence is excluded by documentary evidence is given under section 91 to 109. The contents of the document must be proved by the primary evidence which is provided under section 61, means to say the primary means the first one should be proved before the court, means the original should be presented before the court rather the secondary evidence, as it is the general declaration of the section 61, means the primary evidence which is the original should be presented before the court rather than the secondary. One principle is also associated with this concept, that best evidence should be produced before the court, and this is based on this concept that primary evidence is considered as a best evidence, and in all cases firstly the primary evidence should be produced. However, there are certain circumstances, or you can say exception to this rule, when secondary evidence is allowed, means under section 65 those circumstances has been provided in where documentary evidence can be given. So we can understand this concept like this, that the general principle is that first, documentary evidence must be proved by the primary evidence, which is when generally we know the first means generally primary evidence, we can say the original should be produced before the court, and this principle is based on the rule of best evidence, means the primary evidence is considered as the best evidence, and if the primary evidence is not available, and then under certain circumstances secondary evidence may be given, and those circumstances has been given under section 65 of the act, and section 65 provides that secondary evidence may be given of the existence, condition or contents of a document under certain circumstances, like suppose when the original is shown or appears to be in the possession of the power against it is to be used. Suppose some document is to be produced before the court, primary evidence is to be produced before the court, but it is in the possession of the person against whom it is to be proved, then why he will present those documents when it is against him? That's why if the secondary copy is available, then the secondary evidence is allowed. Suppose a person is liable for a debt of 50,000 or 5 lakhs, and the original promissory note is lying with the person against whom such a debt is pending, then the such person will never produce such document, those original promissory note, and the photocopy is lying with the person who has given the debt. In that case, the court may allow that you may produce the secondary evidence. There are certain other situations when secondary evidence may be given, like when the original is such of a nature as not to easily movable. Suppose some issue is regarding a monument or you can say any structure, and that is not easily movable from one place to another place. In that case, the replica or the document or secondary evidence may be produced before the court. And suppose when the original is a public document within the meaning of the section 74, some document is a public document which is available to the public, in that case also the court may allow that okay, you can produce the secondary evidence, since it's a public document, it can be called by the court anytime. That's all about the concept of the primary and secondary evidence, and we can conclude this lecture by saying that oral evidence and documentary evidence is basically derived from the definition of the evidence. In oral evidence, the general principle is that it should be generally direct evidence, and in documentary evidence, the general principle is that primary evidence should be produced before the court. That's all about the concept of the oral and documentary evidence. Thank you.